Hey everybody, this is Jim with the Sketchy Past Hot Rod Shop, and I'm working today on the Sliveraydo. If you remember this is the 2001 Silverado that I've robbed the body and everything off of, except I left the floor and the firewall and the running gear, all the chassis and suspension, but the rest of it's gone. And instead, in its place, I've put on a combination of 57 and 59 farm truck body and fenders onto, and now I'm working on clearing the bed. If you look here, and you don't have to look too hard because it's pretty obvious, you can see that I have almost zero clearance on the tires to the bed here. There's not even enough room to get my big old meats in there. My hands will not go between the tire and the bed floor. So I need to do something about that, and my answer is lifting blocks. I'm going to put lift in between, just simple lifting blocks in between the rear end, the differential and axle assembly, between that and the springs. It's not a big deal. It's easy to do. You can do it, I promise. What's really cool, I'm actually saving myself some money on this project. I'll explain that to you in a little bit. And then, but I'm going to show you step by step how to do this. It's super simple. I don't think you'd have any trouble doing this at home. If you've got a good quality jack, some jack stands, a way to keep yourself safe, you could totally do this. So let's get the Sliveraydo up in the air and we'll take a look at what's going on underneath. Let's go. So in case you haven't figured it out, the reason for the name Sliveraydo, I just changed a couple letters around, and it's a wood bed, and it's rough sawn lumber, and the odds of getting slivers are really high. So I'm actually going to put a 6-inch lift in, which is going to give me a little more clearance than what you're seeing right there. That's probably about 4.5 inches, and that's going to really do what I need. So what we're going to do here, let's get down underneath, and all we're going to do to start, I've got this lifted up just to the point where the pressure is off the springs, and so the tires are just barely in contact with the pavement. You can see I can actually move them ever so slightly. But I'm going to start out by getting those 4 bolts off here, and then we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. And that's going to release the axle from the springs, and that will allow us then to lift up the chassis a little higher, and we'll be able then to go ahead and put those lifting blocks in. It's pretty straightforward. If I can do it, you can do it, I promise. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so we're going to start by loosening these bolts up, and you'll see the whole thing should drop down, including that little space at the top there, and the whole thing should open up. All right, so you can see now that all we got to do is pull those pins out. There's the 1 U-bolt. We'll do the same thing on the front, and we will be good to go. Safety glasses, check. Gloves, check. Earplugs in. Double check. Here we go. By the way, don't be surprised if my air compressor kicks on. She's noisy. She sure gets the job done though. Here we go. Alrighty. All 4 bolts are out. Drop the good to go. Just pull the fork off, just this U-bolt, and the whole thing is ready now to be lifted up. Here we go. There we go. Now she's free. Okay, so I had said that I had a cost-saving measure here. What I'm actually doing is reusing parts. And some people are really objecting to that. You know, if you're on a budget, you do what you got to do. People aren't afraid to swap carburetors or intakes or things like that. And you know, when it comes to these rear end pieces, if I was going to change my rear end out, or if I had to drop it potentially maybe to straighten it or reinforce it, whatever the case might be, I would probably use the same bolts putting it back together again. So that's what I would do. I guess it's up to you to decide what you're going to do. So I went ahead and disconnected the shocks, knowing that they're probably going to be too short, especially for such a tall lift. So what we want to do is now I want to lift the chassis up, and of course the rear end's going to stay on the ground, and you'll see that the whole thing will lift up, and then we'll be able to get those lift blocks in there. So let's do that. Oh, these are these are useless. Oh goodness. Yeah, well, I guess they need to be replaced regardless, because they're not doing nothing. Let's be honest, those are trash. At the top of the travel, they got a little something. But boy, down there, or at the bottom of the travel, I should say, but boy, at the other end, there ain't nothing happening. All right, let's lift this bad boy up. All right, so if you look at the pinion angle, so that's where the gear set in your differential, the angle from that to the drive shaft. Now, if you remember, this block is what is going to go in between the springs and the rear end. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that this guy is in so that the angle pitches this way. We want to lift that front end to relieve that angle. So to do that, you're going to have this in this direction. So the longer side's at the back and the shorter side's at the front. And what that does is when you put that in there, it's going to relieve that pinion angle like that, and the whole thing is going to look better, ride better. It'll be a lot easier on your U-joints. You're not going to wear them out as fast. And actually it looks like that U-joint might need a little grease. Yeah, a little love. All right, let's get these in. So you got to put this top plate in place. It needs to be there. You'll see it when you take yours apart. And we drop the two bolts down above. Make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. This thing should hug the axle and should hold the block in place as well. And then these U-bolts tend to be sprung just a little bit, so it's not unusual to gotta grip them in to line them up. Like that. All right, so I got everything in place. Now all I gotta do is just put the bolts on, tighten her up, and we're good to go. All right, so you can see I've got it all in. So it's I've been saying 6-inch lift, but it's actually a 5-inch lift. I don't know where I got 6 inches in my head, but you know. Anyway, ain't it like a guy to do that? Anyhow, thing is, it's all in, and you can also see. Let's look at that pinion angle on the front, just to show you why we put the wide part at the back and the narrow part in the front. Let's go look at that real quick. So you can see that what I've done then is I've relieved that pinion angle so that it's not at a very high angle at all. It's going to help everything to work a lot better in terms of keeping the vibrations down and also making that U-joint last a whole lot longer. If I tipped it the other way, it would be tipped down at a greater angle, and it would increase that pinion angle to the point to where that U-joint's working a whole lot harder and risks burning out your U-joints more often, but also that increased angle likely causes vibration. It's not unusual for that to happen. So there we go. She's in and ready to roll. Let's lower it down and see what she looks like. That looks so much better. Yeah, it's a 5-inch lift, and boy, that's just exactly what the truck needed right there. That makes it so much better. The rake to it looks a whole lot more solid, and I think we're going to be much more happy with that than I was. So yeah, 5-inch lift on there, and I was saying 6 earlier, my apologies. but looks dynamite, looks fantastic. So it'll be able to take a little weight on it now that it wouldn't have taken otherwise. And it doesn't look outrageous on this vehicle at all. So excellent. Well, hey, remember, if I can do this stuff, you can too. None of this is too difficult for you. Take your time. I mean, you may not have the same tools. I mean, I love the air impact. A socket would have got it done. It just would have taken longer. You know, but other than that, it's just a matter of doing it. And take your time. If you're buying a brand new lift kit, follow the directions on there. And you can do this stuff, absolutely. So, hey, I wish you guys the very best with your project. Go out and build your dream. And God bless you all. Take care. Bye.